I don't know. While I'm here, I mean, we're gonna have a lot of time to kill. I might as well talk about some things. Alright. I could talk about something. This was like... So, I was not sure whether or not I wanted to talk about this, but considering that this dude in particular has no actual understanding of friendship or actual understanding of what it means to be friends with people, really, in the grand scheme of things, I have absolutely no problem talking about it because they don't seem to understand social cues and everything, and in the grand scheme of things, it's just like... I don't know. So, this was about a year ago, over a year ago or so. Or wait. No, this was a year ago. This dude I was in a server with asked, hey, how can you get YouTube famous in, like, a short time? It was, like, me, two other people, and one of my friends. We were all in the call, and it was just, like, some of us have had some degree, like, I've had a channel that had 8,000 subscribers, and some of my other friends were, like, doing YouTube. So it's like, we had some level of experience towards, you know, YouTube fame and whatnot. And pretty much, what was going on was... So it's just like, they were wondering, like, you know, how do we get YouTube famous? And at the time, I didn't realize more so that, you know, they were kind of, like, freaking out about a financial situation, and so they were just trying to, like, hey, how can I make a living real quick? But they never even bothered to talk about that. I had to learn about that from my friend. And, you know, if I had heard about that prior, I would just be like, honestly, I would give it to them straight, because it's just in the grand scheme of things, because here's how I feel about becoming, like, famous on the internet and everything. It takes time. That's how 100% I feel. It takes time. It's going to take a long time before you can actually get some results that are, you know, beneficial towards your own situation. So, ultimately, I was going off about that, and I was just like, look, it's going to take time, and ultimately you're not going to get the results you want within the time that you want. It's going to take time, and eventually you'll get to that point, but you gotta keep at it. And it's just like, you gotta keep trying every time. You're gonna fail more times than you really wish, but you gotta try every time. You can't quit just because you think you might fail. And so that happened. It's just like, I did that, and ultimately, like, I was trying to tell him, like, look, it's gonna take a while. Mind you, again, at the time, he did not say anything about his own financial situation or anything. He didn't say about why he needed to become YouTube famous really quick. So, when it came to the whole thing, and I'm gonna move around while I talk about this. So when it came to his whole situation, he was like, alright, like, I was giving him the days where it's just like, you know, you gotta try every time, despite the fact of how hard it might seem, despite the fact how many times you might fail. And it was just, like, I was pointing it down, because I was talking from my own experience. And it's just like, at some point, if you, like, you know, it happens, it happens. You know, if you get to a point where it's just like, you actually are, you know, like, you get to a point where you actually be famous and whatnot, it happens. Like, there's a catalyst moment. Like, for me on my previous channel, it was when I was starting to do anime out of context. Now, nowadays, I don't think that actually is a possibility due to, like, copyright and everything. But, and now, in particular, I would say what's getting me, like, popular is ultimately, like, YouTube Shorts. I'll get to that in a bit. But ultimately, I was breaking it down. I was saying, like, hey, you know, just, you know, it's going to take time. They weren't actually hearing me. What was happening was just like, okay, so I heard from you. I want to hear what other people think. pretty much everyone without fail in that conversation was like, no, Sozo's right. It's like it's like I don't really have much to add on it because I'm not YouTube famous. I'm not really that famous. Like to be frank, like out of all of us in the grand scheme of things, like as I am now, I'm not really that famous or well known or anything. But it's just like I've had my own experiences with this, and it's just like this is how I see it. I wasn't really going like no, this is. No, it's just like my word is law. No. It's just like more so. This is what I've experienced, and this is what I've witnessed, and more so. This is based off of my own experiences doing this. This is based off of my truth. But they didn't care. They were just like, I want an answer. Because he was trying to tell to my friends as if we knew the answer to becoming famous on YouTube, like right away, like the answer was just right there, and we all decided not to use it or something, you know? Like the perfect secret to becoming famous on YouTube. And let me tell you something. The reason why there is no perfect secret is because the game constantly changes. If the game stayed the same, everybody would win, and then the game would get boring. If everybody won, then nobody would win. You know what I mean? So, when it comes to the game, it's just like, the things change. It's just like, when I was growing up, I think ultimately the big thing when YouTube was out is just like, you know, short videos and everything, or just like, no, like, I don't know, it's just like, there wasn't really ways to make it popular, but it was just like, you know, people just did whatever, and then when it became more commercialized, and when it became, more corporate, like, a lot more things became, it's just like, okay, so, this is what's big now. So around the time when, like, YouTube got well, not bought out by Google, but more so when it started to become more commercialized. That was the scene where it's just like you had stuff like dubstep and kind of the era where it's like what Smosh was posting, and they became big. That's ultimately what was like the big thing. It was like kind of like shock humor, dark jokes, all that stuff, and whatnot. It's just like that was what was popular at the time. Nowadays, I don't really think so, and it's just like. Ultimately, it's just like that. The amount of videos from like 2012, it's like that was the energy that that was what people were into. That was what made it popular and everything. But as time went on, people's tastes changed, and ultimately the game changed. And nowadays, I don't really know if that's actually what's on the scene anymore. As time went on, ultimately things changed, and what was it? I don't know. I would say ultimately, like the mid-2010s, it would have to be something like... Well, honestly, I would have to say, like, Let's Plays were big at the time. So it was like... Yeah, it was like, Let's Plays were big at the time. And so, yeah, that was... there was a slew of, like, different Let's Players. There was a slew of different game content. In mid-2010s, I remember that. So it was very much that was it. I'd still say it still is a big thing, but in the pretty much as we were leaving the 2010s, more so what popped off was sort of drama channels. Like you would constantly see videos nonstop about like, this YouTuber is under this trouble for this thing, so on and so forth. We'd see that constantly. So that was kind of the big thing for a bit, and now. Honestly, it's like, it's pretty evident that, like, YouTube is trying to, like, YouTube noticed since, like, 2020 that TikTok was a big thing. So now, like, shorts are a big thing. TikTok and shorts are a big thing. So it's just, like, that's what's getting popular. Anyway, so it's just, like, I'm talking to this person, again, who wanted to become YouTube famous, and I was just, like, I tried to tell my experiences. They weren't having any of it. And then they were talking also to my friends where it's just, like, my friends were trying to help out and give them advice about, what to do for content and everything, but they were kind of being very rude in this sense. Like, it's not what they were saying, it's more just how they were saying it. It was just, like, they were assuming my friends should know that this dude, like, what this dude does, It's just, like, well, maybe you could, like, do, I don't know, like, I don't know, maybe you could do this for, like, video games. He's like, well, I also do anime reactions or just stuff like that. It's just like I'm looking at that. I didn't say anything because I didn't want to be rude, but I was just like thinking, that's kind of a not the type of tone you're supposed to take with people who are trying to help you. Anyway, DM happens. So I DM him, and it was just like, I try to help him out. So I was just like, I looked up, it's like, okay, I looked at your channels, like, you do gaming, you do reactions, okay. So I'm just like, so, for reactions, right? I was like, for reactions, like, I noticed videos where it's just like, I looked up videos, like, that do popular. And it's just like, a lot of videos, it's not necessarily what they do, but it's like a lot of videos with, like, channels that have, like, groups. Or other people in the content. Like, ultimately, I feel like I've looked at those and just like, ultimately, that seems to get more attention than just people if they do it standalone. Not to say that people alone can't do it, but ultimately, it's just like I feel ultimately, and this is true, like when you're in a call with friends, like if you've seen my other streams, like if you're in a call with friends and you're enjoying something, ultimately, like, it's a lot more enjoyable and fun than it is just by yourself. Like, because, me playing Hades by myself, it's fun, but at the same time, it's just, like, if I was in the call with all my other friends, we probably would have some more to say and everything. Because I admit, I was ultimately kind of silent, but that's mainly because I didn't have anything to talk about. Like, you give me something to talk about, like, right now, I'll be talkative. But, if, like, it's just like, if I don't really have anyone to talk to, then it's just like, I'm kind of silent, But anyway, so it's just like, ultimately, it's just like, I was telling him, it's like, if you had, got some of your friends together and, reacted to stuff, you probably could do well for yourself. But they are ultimately making excuses where it's just like, yeah, well, it's just like, I don't know about that, and it's just like, it came to the point where they said it was just like, well, I don't know, I mean, my friends don't really have the same schedule as me, and I thought, you know what, that is perfectly fair, but hey, at that time, I was just like, hey, I've got some time, I can make it free, it's just like, if you wanted to, for the hell of it, if you wanted to just bring me on, and I could help, react to stuff and whatnot, if it helps your channel, I'm more than willing to, I'm more willing to extend a hand. And this is where this is kind of where we fell off. Is just because, like, at that point, they were just, like, they were trying to make excuses where it's just like, well, I mean, I could bring you on, but it ultimately, I don't think the shows that I watch will ultimately be the shows you like, and I'm just like, I don't care. It's like, ultimately, at the end of the day, it's art. Like, if there's something I do like out of it, I mean, yeah, ultimately, there is, like, yeah, I would like to, talk about why I don't like it, or why I do like it. It's just like, because, like, ultimately, I've done this before. It's just like, I don't care about, whether or not the media is, like, good or bad. It's just like, I don't care if you agree or disagree with me. It's just like, I want to talk about it in the grand scheme of things, and it's just like, talk about why I don't like it in the grand scheme of things. Yeah? But, ultimately, this is what pissed me off, is that they said that they didn't want me on because they thought it would just become the Sozo stream. Ultimately, they broke it down to saying they didn't want me on their channel because they thought I was going to take it over and ultimately throw them to the curb. It was going to become my channel. They thought, this dude who was my friend thought I was some sort of network executive who was in competition as a YouTuber to take over the account and become more and more popular. That's what they fucking thought. Now, I want to preface this by saying, there is a clip out there from, like, the VTuber girl DM, who's just like, someone asked her, you got any advice on what not to do for content creation? And what she said immediately was, first thing I would say is, don't treat your friends like you're in a competition if they're streaming around the same time. Yeah, don't do that. And I will say, like, sometimes, even if you have friends in call, it can make the experience that much better. People, they might enjoy certain content creators more. They might enjoy certain people in that call more, but hey, like, they'll still come for you if they can. They'll still come for you and see what you can enjoy, what you have to offer and everything, and it's fine. Like, ultimately, like, a good example of this is Russian Badger. Like, Badger, like, ultimately, videos on his own, he's funny, he's still enjoyable, he's still entertaining, it's nothing wrong with that. I'll still watch some videos where he does by himself, and it's still funny, but there's something to be said where it's, like, a lot of his videos where he does with Heavenly, and Skulker, and Bing, and Mickey, it's, like, everyone, he's friends with in the grand scheme of things. Like, there's something to be said about that, where it's just like, those videos just pop off, and they're just so much more funnier. Because it's just like, there's that friend dynamic, there's that chemistry. But no, this dude was just like, no, it's just like, I feel like you're just gonna take over and everything, and you're just gonna treat this like a competition now. Just like, I explained this to him, like, look, I told him the truth about why I was like this, and it's just ultimately it's because I wanted to be happy. It's because I didn't really have much, reason to continue doing this. It's like, I wanted to be happy. And he legit told me, do you want me to spoon feed you it's the truth even when it's not? It's like, do you want me to spoon feed you and tell you it's the truth even when it's not? That pissed me the fuck off, because I'm trying to be open and honest with him, and he's treating me like a piece of shit. He's treating me like I'm a fucking asshole. So I'm trying to be on the same level as this dude, and he pulls out, hey, I am insert, and he told me what he does in life, and I'm just like, hey, I do this in life, be careful with what you say next, and I'm like, fuck you. Go fuck yourself. Oh my god. I'm trying to help you, I'm trying to be a nice friend here, and you are spitting in my face. Go fuck yourself. I don't care what happens next. I stopped talking to him after that. A year passes, and one of my friends who's streaming was like, I'm trying to get bigger and everything, and this was around the time, coincidentally, this was around the time when I started doing YouTube Shorts. Now, I just did it just for the hell of it, but little did I know, a lot of those shorts popped off. Like, I started to get more attention, my channel started growing, I surpassed 500 subscribers because I started posting more shorts. So I was like, oh my god, like, wow, I didn't realize this. This was like an untapped market I was going like, holy shit. So, yeah, I started posting more of my own videos. I started posting some edits I did, so on and so forth. And it's just like, it took me by surprise. Like, this was something I could have done this whole time. Like, wow. So I did that. And then my friend was like, I'm trying to get bigger. I'm trying to, grow my channel because, doing games is fun and everything, but I try to do this for a living. I gotta grow my channel so that way I can be able to make ends meet with the bills and everything. And I'm just like, yo, so it's like, I just tell him in the chat, and I knew that dude from before was in the call because like we were watching the same person. Anyway, I was like, hey, my recommendation, like, do shorts. I did them. Hell, I posted some of these clips. They took off, got about 1,000 views, and it's just like, look, if you're looking to get more attention and everything, if you're looking to garner more attention for your channel, I recommend doing shorts. And he was like, yeah, actually, I'm working on thinking about doing that, actually. So, yeah, I'll think about it. And that dude, he's doing shorts now, and he's doing pretty good for himself. Ultimately, great things. Also, not just on the internet, he's in real life. I imagine he's doing pretty good for himself, so I'm happy for him. Anyway, so I told him that, and it's just ultimately, it's nothing. I didn't think much of it. Day after I say that on stream, guess who comes crawling back? I get a friend message. I get a friend request from that same person. Now, it should be noted, in between, back when we had that fucking dispute and that argument and I just cut ties with him, and the day he decided to add me as a friend again, he had at no point decided to ever apologize for anything. I would have probably thought about giving him a second chance if he was just like, hey man, I'm sorry for how I acted back then. Yeah, it's just like, I was not in the right space. It's just like, I'm sorry. I would have been like, okay, look, and I respect you for apologizing and everything. I don't really know if we're going to be friends, but I expect it, and I accept your apology. I respect it. I don't know if we're going to be friends. I'm going to have to think about that. That's what I would have said. At no point did he apologize. But I figure, okay, last chance. Maybe this is the apology. So I literally just say, what do you want? I don't friend him. I don't add him. I just say, what do you want? This motherfucker said, Oh, nothing much. I'm just thinking we can let it all be water under the bridge. This motherfucker had the audacity to treat me like a piece of shit just because I'm another content creator. And turn down my fucking advice and not fucking tell me straight up just anything like, well, I appreciate the advice, but, you know, I'm gonna do my own thing. Because if that was the case, I would have left him alone. This motherfucker decided to treat me like shit. Never apologize once for that, and think that ultimately, yeah, well, I think we can let it be under the bridge. What the fuck? No! No! What the fuck? What the no! So I was like, no, are you fucking with me right now, dude? Like, I tried to help you out once, and you fucking spit in my face. You didn't apologize in that entire time. You treat me like shit. Why the fuck would I continue being friends with you? So I'm like, no. Fuck you. If you have anyone to blame, blame your fucking past self for how you ended up in this predicament. Go fuck yourself. Blocked him after that. I blocked him after that. My fucking god. And look, I would have given... back then, all he would have had to say in the grand scheme of things is just when I was offering him help, all he would have had to say is, I appreciate the help, thank you for the advice and everything, but I'm gonna try and do things my own way. That's it! Because then I would be like, hey, yo, I get it. You want to do things your own way? You want to do things your own way. I get it. I'm gonna let you do things your own way. That's it. That's all he would have had to say to me. But no, at no point did it ever come into his mind that he had to fucking say that. He does... I'm firmly believe that he doesn't understand what he did wrong. I firmly believe now he's still thinking it's just like, oh my god, he's just so, like, petty and whatnot. I mean, hey, if being petty means that I have to hold a grudge for you not actually owning up to the fact that you might have fucked up and never actually apologizing for how you might have treated me, in the idea that maybe, possibly, that you might have actually offended me, yeah, then I guess I'm petty as fuck. My fucking god. Ultimately, it's just like, I have not talked with that dude since. I have kept that dude blocked on my fucking Discord since. And it's just like, oh my god. I never talked about it. Because, in the grand scheme of things, it was just like, I was hoping that more so, you know, I was trying to keep it on the down low, even with people in that server. I wasn't telling anybody anything unless it was just off camera. But it was just like talking about, like, it's like, in the Discord server, I was like, you know, I'm doing this, I'm ignoring him because ultimately we had this argument. I don't want to bring the server into this. Because ultimately it was a conversation that happened out of the server, so it was ultimately my fucking business. But the fact that this motherfucker decided to treat me like shit and ultimately offend me, and then act as if it's all good on both ends and we're both over it. No, you're over it. I'm not fucking over it because you had no intention to fucking apologize. The fact that it never occurred to him to actually fucking legitimately just apologize for stuff that he might have been wrong, and then just, we could go about our day. The fact that it never happened, I'm just like, why the fuck should I continue being friends with you if you're not going to actually fucking... If you're not going to actually fucking, like, be legitimately friendly with me. Just because you're over it doesn't automatically mean the same for someone like me. So yeah. Ultimately, again, I've blocked that dude. He's like, I don't have any contact with him. If he sees this, ultimately, I mean, ultimately, it's too fucking late. He's dug his own grave. I know what type of person he is now. So ultimately, like, I know, it's just... And ultimately, from the sounds of it, and everything, he's older than me. So, ultimately, I have a feeling like, look, I'm around 23, I'm going on to be 24. You should fucking know better. If I know better at this age, why the fuck don't you know better? That's the thing. But, whatever. Ultimately, yeah. When it came to the whole thing of, like, you know, whole thing of Red YouTube is just, like, ultimately, I figured out two things about the thing. One, I don't know about the dude and if it's just coincidence, but ultimately, it is a bit, too much of a coincidence for me to go, like, hey, I talked about how I get X amount of views if I do this. And to someone who was talking about getting famous and everything. And all of a sudden, he comes crawling back into my DMs talking about, hey, so we're good, right? No, we're not. But even if that wasn't the case, bro, you never fucking apologized. Like, you don't have any understanding of social cues. You don't have an understanding of what it means to actually be friends. Because I'm 100% in belief that more so they center their whole perspective of friendships and everything around entertainment and don't actually understand what it takes to be a legitimate good friend. What it takes to be just a legitimate friend in the grand scheme of things. But yeah. Yeah, sorry I had to dump all that on you, but it's just like, it's just something where it's just like, I didn't, it's something I'd been sort of, keep it to myself in the grand scheme of things, but it was just like, before, I was keeping it to myself because I didn't want to make it a big deal off chance that he was going to apologize, but after him treating me like that shit, yeah, nah. Alright, we're getting close to the time.